Mr. Deepak, to start with, what are the latest advancements that can contribute to design HVAC systems that promote green building practices and reduce greenhouse gas emissions?
Thank you, sir. I think Mr. Panicker has already given the light on that, but I would like to, because I am also in the MEP, so I will also have to have my experience. I would like to share my experience. See, we have to use this IoT technology, that is like we have to make the BMS along with the IoT sensors. What happens is generally in the ducting, okay, because of the dust calculator, dust is there, we cannot see any dust inside the ducting. Okay, that comes into your filters and it goes to the supply and return. Okay, what somebody has told that even in hospital it is happening. Okay, if you put this kind of sensors, this will give you the prediction that what is happening inside ducts also. This is the one of the reason I am giving from the HVAC point of view. Second thing is when we talk about even in the chillers, even chillers are started with the use of the solar panels. It is in the nascent state, but I think it is going to happen. And what generally we are using this app also, somebody, Mr. Panicker also given that app you are using for the HVAC calculation. But nowadays, even you can collaborate this beam and rivet and you get good kind of stimulation. Building stimulation is feasible with this kind of thing. Means you have to add, there are so many applications are available with for the thermal comfort, even CFD and FDC. I think we have to take use of this kind of things which are coming in the latest technology. And what we see, our vision is to give net zero building. That is the 2070 is our vision. Okay, by that time we have to be carbon zero. Okay, so it is the right time to start our steps from today. So that will happen up to the 2050 and it will diminish by the 2070. I think because the HVAC is the one of the biggest puzzler after the electrical, is consuming the more energy. So everybody has to look into that, whatever is the consultancy with the integration with the all MEP services. And of course there are some pages, but one point that I would like to highlight is Mr. Sandeep Rane has already given on that whatever we design, I think somebody may agree or may not agree with me, we design so many good things, okay, but what happens is after installation that care has not been taken care. And when we talk about this energy performance index, that is the EPR, whatever energy we are consuming, there is no such integration to calculate and check that. Now the thing, even in Dubai and also they have started with operation and quality maintenance, that is called protocol. In generally in clean room design, we do this kind of design qualification, installation qualification, operation qualification. But I think all these net zero buildings and even for the normal building, I think we have to look into this operation and maintenance point of view also, because that is the one of the thing, whatever you design, that is going to check with the whatever you are actually design and what is actually happening in this. It is like we have put the fire system in our building, but that wall is non-opening. We have designed good things in the fire system. It is like the same thing. If the wall is not opening, so operation and maintenance has to given the priority in kinds of the HVAC, and that will decide the energy consumption from the future point of view. Okay, these are my views.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Deepak, for highlighting about the maintenance and operations. Mr. Sandeep, we would like to have your views on this. The advancements that can contribute to designing HVAC systems and promote green building practices.
See, all these parameters are known to the panelist, every designer, and every organization which is going in the designing and construct business, they are aware of it. But whatever good design you give, it is also equally important to see that you maintain it. Maintain it on a regular basis, on a day-to-day basis. There is somebody who is monitoring it, somebody who is taking the readings. Energy auditing is been done. As somebody has said, I think my madam has said, energy audit is done, waste auditing is been done. So that needs to be done very precautiously, very religiously. Should follow it. It's just not a formality. अरे करना है तो करना है, चलो. And if something goes wrong, अरे उसको बोलो अब next time हम लोग कर देते हैं, next time we'll do it properly. Let him give the certificate right now. Certificate दे दो. This is happening everywhere in our country, especially in hospitality industries, where I have been working, or in the steel industry. This is happening everywhere. Maintenance people are not so aware of energy efficiency.
Thank you, Mr. Sandeep, for your points. Uh, there was a question how to comply with thermal conform design and thermal comfort control for the lead projects.
So generally for thermal comfort, based on the metabolic clothing insulation, air circulation rates and all,
Yeah.
we can use it's a Center for Built Environment Thermal Comfort tool. It's an online from Berkeley. So that is used to study the temperature and the how much FPM the air comes in. Is it between 50 to 80? That can be adjusted based on the requirement. That is the way we comply to the thermal comfort requirement in lead.
Thank you, Manivar.
So I will just also add one more point here.
Yeah,
So
please.
he's also asked about the thermal comfort controls also, because we see a lot of changes in the controls only. Whereas lead asks us to provide us a minimum 50% of thermal controls for individual spaces and 100% controls on the all collaborative spaces like conference halls and the wherever you have a meeting rooms kind of thing. So it's important that once you provide a thermal comfort like either a remote or a table level fan or kind of thing, you may not be able to comply with the lead requirement on controls. Of course, you can comply with the design, thermal comfort design once you follow ASHI 55 as Mr. Raji Panicker also said. You can able to get the design credits easily. But with respect to control credits, if you wanted to get it, you have to install, you have to make sure that the controls are provided at every workstation. So if you have some 100 workstation, minimum 50 workstation should have a controls, which means that either a remote control or a thermostat, or if you could not able to provide such things, you can provide a table size fan kind of thing also you can provide. In the collaborative spaces like conference room, meeting room, if you have 10 meeting room in an office, all 10 meeting rooms needs to have an individual thermostat or a remote. That is a mandatory. So once you comply with this one, you can easily get those points also.
Oh, thank you very much, Prabhat.
I do agree that I think I'll read out the question. This is with respect to embodied carbon. So I just, maybe I'm not sure whether I could be able to brief detail. I could not able to detail it, but I can tell you. So see, with respect to any product, the embodied carbon, of course, you can't neglect it. But we have to do a life cycle analysis of that particular MEP system, like he refers to HVAC system, if I'm not wrong. So in HVAC system, the embodied carbon of the particular chiller is maybe somewhere around 2 metric ton of carbon or 3 metric ton of carbon. That is like one-time carbon, which is an embodied carbon. Whereas if a chiller of 200 year is being operated for another 20 year or a 25 year, the energy consumption is almost 10 times higher than the embodied carbon. So that is what I'm saying. The embodied carbon, obviously, you have to brought it down. That is only can be done in the factory side where they manufacture the chillers or the equipments. But the operational carbon is the highest one compared to an embodied carbon. So you have to make sure when you don't have a control on an embodied carbon where the manufacturer have every control, you can't do anything there. So you have to make sure the operational carbon, at least you are reducing it.
But in this, I need to add something. It also the requirement of your local sourcing, because transportation also plays a major role in embodied carbon. But for chillers and all major equipments like Make in India is still ongoing. It will take time. So also he has been talking about circular economy of reuse, refurbishment, and all. So at the end of the product life cycle, there are scenarios where it has been scrapped and reused, but that reuse and recyclability to what extent, like if you do a building life cycle assessment analysis, it can be that gives you an outcome of the in the report we can produce it.
Thank you, Mr. Rajiv, for highlighting that cycle analysis point. So here I would like to ask, as an MEP engineer, why life cycle analysis should be assessed and how it can help to improve the sustainability of the HVAC systems?
Generally what we you do in most of the project, I mean, depending on the life cycle of an equipment, we do net present value analysis. Now let's say by the end of the product life cycle, and whether it is, I mean, it's majorly for to take us an informed decision related to commercial. Majorly it is because for a client it is majorly the commercial. But after the end of an life cycle, it's a green building project, we assess carbon emissions and all, and both way can be done. It can be NPV or it can be LCCA. LCCA needs some software. NPV can be done in a direct Excel sheet. So that way it is beneficial. I mean, most of the equipment we usually have to do it. There's no point in proving that why you have been using X equipment instead of Y. There's a comparative study needs to be done.
Comparative study is needed, of course, to deal with the other projects. Talking about the designing systems and maintenance aspects. So how to spread the awareness and educate the operators with respect to energy savings? Mr. Raji, please go ahead.
See, I tell you how this happens basically when a designer designs something and it is handed over to an operation.
Mhm.
So the designer goes off and then the operation team is on board. So whatever the designer has designed, because it is on the operation and maintenance manual, it also depends on the skill manpower. If it is outsourced, nobody's bothered because operation presumes whatever system you're handing it over, it is fully operational functional, and whatever related to any any effect of any impact related to maintenance, how it is being addressed. So there should be an SOP, or probably somebody has to be there. I mean, the operation team has to be there right from the start, addressing this point. So design team and operation team work hand on hand, and they understand the integrity or the issues related to how the functionality, how it can be maintained. So in this way, I mean, that can be betterment for the operation. It can improve the life cycle of the product as well.
I have already asked a question which is related with the cogenerations. And my point is that still now the cogeneration is not added for the lead certification point metrics. So shall we need to add this point, because as it is implementing by the giant factories, like where the power plant like above 10 megawatts or 15 megawatts. So there is a huge amount of exhaust gas and also jacket water heat is released. So if I would like to introduce the exhaust gas, there is so many amount of carbon dioxide emit. So if we introduce this there, EGB or chiller, anything which is related to cogeneration, isn't it so will be helpful for lead certification and should be added metrics point? So that is my question. That's what should be the state should be taken in this area.
I'll try to answer maybe if I could able to understand this question correctly. So what you are referring is like with respect to either a LEED certification or a green factory certification, there is no direct point for having a cogeneration where the embodied carbon or the embodied environmental profile is very good. So that is what you are asking. So yes, as you know that in green buildings, there is no direct credits or direct points to any of the cogeneration. But I think if I'm not wrong, there is an option available in your energy simulation tool where you can take a benefit of the energy reduction because of cogeneration in the, so that energy reduction you can show it in your energy simulation report, and minus that the generation of either an energy or what, whether it is a, if you have a boiler system that gives you pressurized waters for the chillers, like that, if you could able to save some energy reduction, you can claim it in your energy simulation report. So that I think there is an option for that, but I'm not an expert in energy simulation. They can help you on that. But as a directly, you don't make any points, but through optimized energy performance credit, there is a provision available to take some advantage.
Have you got your reply, sir?
Yes, I got the cognitive answer, but actually that is a question and also the recommendation that here is so many prominent experienced persons here. So what would you like to say that this cogeneration should be added in a lead matrix point or not? I mean, directly added.
See, we can add, that's not a problem, but the thing is like we have to validate by giving the right data. So at least we have to show some data where through these cogeneration, either 1% or 2% of either an energy reduction or a water reduction, or by some way the resource consumption brought down. So that we have to prove compliances. If that is can be done, or it can be documented properly, then we can write it to lead team or an IGBC team or Griha team, asking that this is an advantage of a system which can give us a benefit with respect to green building compliances. So why can't you take this in a consideration? So whenever they have a revision in version, they can add this also as a point of it. So, but this is not with respect to our hand, but we can, as a public people, we can give a review to lead and IGBC or Gruha people, where they can take that inputs by giving the proper data validations.
Yes, I got your answer. Okay, thank you very much.
My another question, you're talking about the standards and other things. So what are the criteria to achieve the LEED certification standards to comply with, to promote air quality and the reduced carbon footprints. Though you already talked about the points and other things, what our rating should be there to increase the savings.
So as I mentioned in the presentation itself, it's like it is advisable that the consultants are very knowledgeable on their own subject. So architect is very good at his design of passive elements. The MEP consultants are obviously good at its how to reduce the lighting power density, how to reduce the chiller consumption, or how he can improvise the chiller's performance when he is going for a hybrid chiller systems, like going with an air cooled with a water cooled chiller. So they know their subjects well and good. So if you could able to integrate both of them together and give them a target of I want this particular EPI, then they will work on the best in class industry standards to give you a better design. So this is the only way you can able to make a profit in terms of operational cost. Also, you can able to reduce your capital investment.
Right.
They know their subject, but only thing is like they mutually sit and do a workshop detailedly and then agree upon.
Yes, team spirit is required for that
I
from
would
the
like,
different.
sir, I would like to add something.
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
See, generally, when client is coming to us, even for consultants also,
Mhm.
we always design as per their demands and as per their requirement. Okay, what they want gold, they want silver, they want platinum. See, first time when we come into contact with this integration with the client, they are not aware of this all these things. Whether we have to go with the gold, we have to go with the silver or this platinum, and then another thing is there. So that platinum, this awareness has to be created first, because client want everything. I want everything. So first, whatever we are designing, we are taking the input of the clients also as per the site condition. What are their client? What is their capex and opex strength? How much they are going to spend? That is also important. When we talk about this kind of things, we have to spend money. It is directly proportional. Of course, we are saving in the operation cost, but we have to make it clear picture to the client also that what is there that we have to spend at this stage. So the capital cost has you have to take into the consideration, and will you recover that in the payback period, with the payback period in the next time, next years of coming. But this is opex you will save, but you have to spend capex also. It's generally what happens is when we, I think I also coming across with so many clients. So what happens is I got this much of money and I got this much, and you have to give me this kind of thing. Every day it is not feasible, because when you have to think of this stimulation apps, this is building BIM management, it has got this capital cost also, as a consultants also. So if you pay me, then only we can, this kind of things can be happen. So it is correlated with the clients, the demands, and whatever is their importance.
Yes, Mr. Deepak, capex and opex also play a very important role. Ms. Prabhavathi, I would like to ask how the cost of implementing energy efficient HVAC system can be balanced to conserve energy consumption.
People think that by going for any green building compliances or going for some energy efficient systems, they ended up paying more for the equipments and system, but it's not really same, actually, I would say, because like what we do normally, what as a consultant we do is like we do a lot of safety factors and add-on cost only. Like for example, if a building that follows a thumb rule calculation of having 200 square feet 1 TR chiller, or having an 1 watts per every square feet of lighting power, like that, when we do it, we put a lot of ifs and buts that okay, today 100 people are there, maybe tomorrow 200 people will come, or we may think that the efficiency might not be good, or we may think that the temperature might not be good at this condition. Like that, we put so many safety factors, and thereby we increase the size of the system. But what we really need to do is like we need to optimize the design based on the data only. So we cannot go by thumb rule calculation. We have to always depend on the data. So when we do a energy simulation, we come to know what is the anticipated energy consumption when this particular building becomes a live building. So what we can able to do is like through the energy simulation, we can understand, okay, this is the estimated energy consumption. to have some safety factor of maybe another 20 people added or 30 people added or some systems additionally added. That little portion only we have to take as a safety factor instead of doubling the size of the capital cost. So normally that way we can reduce the cost, but obviously as you know that the chiller that has a COP of 6.0 is not the same of 6.5. So 6.5 will be somewhere around 30-40% extra than 6 COP chillers. So there are a lot of difference will come, but however, by optimizing your size of the system, you can able to balance the cost compared to the conventional and an energy efficient building.
Yes, along with so many factors optimizing.
The safety factors or the cushion factors, we
Yeah.
have to remove it from the budget actually.
Okay. Now, coming to Mr. Deepak. So what design aspects or the criteria for project management of temperature sensitive pharma infrastructure projects should be taken? What
See,
design aspects should be considered?
for the temperature point of view.
Yeah, because you were talking about the commercial structures.
Okay. See, what happens is generally when we talk about these sensors like temperatures and RH, all these things, it has to be integrated with the other systems also like BMS. Okay. Now, that was the earlier we used to use the normal sensors. Now there is a IoT sensors have come into the place. Okay, we have to use that. Like I gave you an example of this. Even for the small thing, we can save the energy. See, like if you use the drone technology for drone camera, okay, we can that project activities, whatever is happening, and whatever safety has been taken, that can be collaborated with the beam designs also. So this is feasible with this kind of technology. It is coming into the place. So I think we have to use that technology for the upgradation of the industry like sustainability also. So these are some of the things we have to take into consideration. That automation is happening. So this is, I think, we have to take into consideration.
Yeah, there is a question from the Q&A box. Is there any point for chemical usage for descaling for cooling tower?
I think that chemical I am not aware. That chemical, yes, definitely it is used for it is called for the dosing of this because what happens is chemical dosing is important because there is a one technical factor is there that is called fouling factor. So we have to use that because it will have the upgrade, your scaling will happen inside the condenser tube and it will have increase your energy consumption. That chemical, whatever is, I am not aware of that. That band is there, 2-3 bands are there. So I think that it is used, that is chemical dosing is required.
Yeah, definitely chemicals can be used, but that is not used for cooling towers basically. They are used for cleaning the condenser tube. But chemicals are used, but provided you keep the pH very low. Take care of the pH.
Okay.
Especially if you are seeing some scaling on the tubes, condenser tubes. Well, in that case, you have to go for chemical cleaning, but take care of the pH. It should not be too acidic.
Thank you very much for highlighting and expanding on that point. So my last question is, what future trends do you see for IoT benefits in the real time monitoring? Ms. Prabhavathi.
Yes, Mr. Gopal, as I said that unless otherwise you don't monitor, you will not get anything as savings. This is what we have been observing from various other projects. So see how in any organization the KPIs are being set for the right team. Like if it is a sales team, they are KPIs based on the sales that they do. Similarly, on the delivery part, within the time delivery, how they do. Similarly, you have to set a KPI for any building with respect to energy, water, and waste. This should be the predominant condition. So how you can set that is like unless otherwise you don't have a metering system, you can't monitor anything. Unless otherwise you don't monitor it, you can't make any ROIs or you can't make what actually it is performing. So you might be not knowing whether my EPIs are good or WPIs are good, whether I have to do any health checkup of any equipment. Nothing you will come to know unless otherwise you don't have a metering systems in place. And it is always advisable to have an integrated building management system which are cloud based so that any of the building owner or the project manager can have a look of their project particularly which will give them an idea of where the areas which has gaps. For example, if the system is being designed for, like, for example, lighting, if the office spaces are designed for 0.6 watts per square feet of lighting power, whereas if it is consuming 0.8 or 0.9, he can easily map that which location is having that issue by doing a proper metering system. Unless otherwise, it will be like in red ocean and no one will have a control on that building. At last, it will end up its life of the building by 20-25 years. Instead of it should serve for 60 life years, like 60 years of lifespan. So it's always important that to monitor any of your building, the meterings are important. The meterings are important unless otherwise, if you don't have a cloud-based system, people will not take it as seriously, and the performance of all the systems, including chiller, lighting, electrical, it will degrade only, and you can't able to make out whether you can able to really do a health checkup, or you have to retrofit, or you have to vanish that system. So
Yeah.
all this data can be captured until unless otherwise you don't have a BMS system or a cloud-based system.
Yes, definitely. BMS system and data analytics is very much important. So coming close to the session, we had a very interesting session. And thank you very much to all the panelists.